Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 266. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google Plus and the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. With us tonight we have Ashok Panda. Ashok is an SEO based in Germany. And David Rosam is based in the warm part, I suppose, if you could describe it that way, the warm part of the UK. But then again, I mean, warm part of an ice block. I honestly don't know. But anyway, David is a leading internet marketer. Is my sound coming through, guys? Yeah. Oh, cool. David has been a SEO copywriter for 30 to 40 odd years, and is an SEO copywriter and currently known as a leading internet marketer. You can find David at writingforseo.org. Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net. Masataki is also a Google top contributor on the Google AdSense community. Tim Capper is CEO of onlineownership.com. He's also based in the UK, as is Masataki. And a Google top contributor on the Google My Business community. You can find Tim at onlineownership.com and Masataki at wasaweb.net. And William Rock, who's just had to step out for a moment, but William is an SEO from the Midwest of the USA, Kansas, he's based in. And William's also a Google top contributor on the Google search community. All right, so we have a number of questions tonight, 22 I think. Let's get cracking. The first one from Sanderseal Mabatha on what are the best techniques in creating a sitemap? See, Wakwa Ahmed on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group gave the answer I'd give, Screaming Frog.
Yeah, that's definitely a good tool to use. It's easy. It goes right through your website quickly. And there's also a bunch of other generator tools out there that you can use. And I think there was a comment in here about Yoast plugin. Yoast also has a tool that you can use that automatically creates it when you add a page, it just updates itself.
Cool. I think we'll call that an answer, and we'll move on.
Yeah, I think Jim, one other thing I would want to add to that is just when you are auto generating your sitemap is to go through your sitemap and make sure that those are the URLs you want to submit to the search engines.
Yeah. Thank you, William. All right, here's another one. I saw this on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. I didn't understand it. I hope you guys can help me with it. Anyway, the question 2 on your run list, JL Faverio asks, is there a search engine of sorts for the most popular FAQs per niche?
Yes. Yeah, so there's quite a few. Alan mentioned Answer the Public. That's pretty cool. SEMrush is building at the minute in beta a very similar thing to Answer the Public, which is looking good at the minute. there's some other sort of there's important sort of HubSpot also does one on their blog topic suggest. There's Uber suggest. There's K-Meta. Yeah, that's about the ones I can think of at the minute. Yeah, that's about the ones I can think of.
Thank you, Tim. Anybody else? Thank you, Tim. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to this one from Giannis Hedge. Where does an e-commerce site get the most quality traffic? He went on to say that will most probably convert into a sale.
It's normally, well, that depends. But on big e-commerce sites, I would say brand name. People search for Nike shoes, Nike trainers. People search for, you know, brands on big e-commerce sites. So brands, it depends. If you're a singular brand, then if you've marketed your brand, people will be typing in your brand, so direct traffic. If you are kind of an e-com site that does tons of brands, I would certainly make sure that you categorize it properly according to your brands, because brands is what people are searching for. You know, you still get the random person that searches for like, I don't know, just random like trainers or waterproof trainers if they don't know a brand or have something in mind. But then when they come to the site, then they've got the opportunity to check, you know, via brands. But for most big e-coms, it's direct traffic.
Yeah. All right. We're 3 into our 22 high run list tonight, so I think we'll move on to the next. This one from Toka Janelides on related posts, follow or no follow. He said, related posts on my website are no follow. They are automatically generated and all internal. Should I change it to follow or leave it as no follow, and why?
Don't know what you're running, or perhaps you selected something in an SEO tool on your site. There shouldn't be no follow because they're internal links. So I would look for the source of that and rectify it.
Thank you, Tim. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to the next. All right, here's one from Marta Grisco. And Marta would like to ask us an atypical question. She said, I'm preparing an English to Polish, Polish to English SEO dictionary, and I have a problem with some terms. Could you please tell me whether you use the term microsite in relation to all websites built for SEO purposes, regardless of their type, brackets, blog, satellite site, forum, Or B, websites focused on some niche product or service, like satellite websites. Or C, blogs, private blog networks.
The question, there sounds like different questions in this one.
So,
What's she saying? Sorry, what she's saying, William, is that she's creating a dictionary. She's given us 3 options for the term microsite. You know, I think well, for me, if I was asked what a microsite was, I'd be saying it was B. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd go with B as well, because A and B are not mutually exclusive, right? B is a sort of broader term of what microsite is, and A could be the intent of someone creating microsites. So A, B includes A. I think C is slightly different. I think that's very much a different type of thing. So I would say B, and it doesn't. But choosing B doesn't exclude A. A, in a sense, is a subset of B.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next. This one from Corey Howell on troubleshooting a knowledge graph / JSON LD issue. Corey said, I'm trying to get some help troubleshooting a knowledge graph / JSON LD issue with a client site that includes multiple complexities, including DOM injection of the JSON LD code, injection within tags, and the page itself not being the home page due to current redirect configurations. Details are in the original tweet if you can view it. Corey went on to say, I'm 99.9% sure this is invalid and Google can't see it. More opinions on it to push the client to fix. Thanks in advance if you can help. This one was on the technical SEO community. So we added these at the request of Sash Meyer.
yeah, unless I'm looking at it, I couldn't say which I'd prefer. Ashok says microsites are beneficial for bigger entities, but I'd need to see the site.
Okay, let's skip this one, and we're on to number 7 in our run list. This one from Lamanushka. It's again from Google Plus. Lamanushka said, hello, I have a question about duplicate content. This one's from the SEO Questions community on Google+. Lamanushka said, hello, I have a question about duplicate content. I have been told to use canonical URLs when copying a blog post from my website to publish it on Medium or LinkedIn in order to avoid duplicate content sanction. Is it really a good practice, and what is the official rule about this case? Thanks for your help.
So the point here is, if you take, why would you take the entire article from your website and then put it onto LinkedIn? Like, it makes no sense. You can't add a canonical URL in these other sites. You don't own them. So rather share your blog post onto these other sites rather than copying the whole thing. Or if you wanted to create some kind of intro, maybe reword a paragraph, give people a bit of a soundbite to it, and then have a link back to your site. If you publish the entire, just forget about canonicals, etc. from the, forget about that for the minute. If you published it on another platform, well, there's no incentive for them to come to your site. They've read the whole article. What are they going to do? Well, thank you very much. Yeah. So the idea here is for you to get people to your site. So no, you should never, copy the entire article and publish it onto another media. Yeah, and if you did have the opportunity, yes, you should, in theory, put the canonical in, but you don't have access to do that on these other sites, unless you had some weird kind of admin access. So yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, good point, Tim. I think, even with LinkedIn, what I'd like to do is I'll create a summary of what the article is about and put it in that LinkedIn post. And then, like you said, putting a link back to the full article. That way there's incentive for them to read. And then if they want to read more about what your product or service is, they can easily look around on your sites and find additional references to that. And then you're also going to have your call to action elements on your website from there too. So, along with tracking and your canonical opportunities. So.
Okay, let's tweet that. Here's one from Show Odwa. Show said, how do you exactly use long tail keywords? In the question, use long tail keywords in your SEO campaign.
Okay. So let's say your product is teeth whitening. That's your page on the site is about teeth whitening, and you've got, I don't know, you sell 5 different types of teeth whitening bleach. So think of it in terms, so teeth whitening is your short tail, but what would be the long tail around it? So long tail around it is generally questions, well, 9 times out of 10, it's questions around that people ask. So they say things like, how much will teeth whitening cost, right? You could use something like that within your actual teeth whitening page, within that. Or you could go down to actually targeting with a longer tail, on blog article. So the pros and cons to teeth whitening, or are there any side effects to teeth whitening, which would require its own article in itself, and you could go dive into the whole thing. So the point is, your longer form is everything around that, and that's how you would use it. Think about it as using the longer tail around satisfying the user's questions or potential questions around the actual product, or the shorter tail of it.
Yeah, I think in some of the, also in the comments, I want to bring out like Steve Widman's comment about AdWords. There's a lot of opportunity looking at the conversion too. So you may actually be looking at sending out one. Let's just go back to teeth whitening, and there might be some other search queries that are pulling up in that report that are turning into conversions. So looking at your analytics on that side would also be something to determine, to maybe even build out additional content about the different aspects of teeth whitening, because you're not just going to have it on one page, but then you're building out additional content that's helpful for the user experience, and at the same time looking at the capability of conversion. Not just stuffing the keywords. I wouldn't focus on stuffing the keywords just because they're long tail. It needs to be really relevant to the piece that you're writing, and also for the visitor experience.
Excellent. Thank you, William. Thank you, Tim. Okay, let's move to the next. And we also thank Alan Blue Eyes for that great answer he gave in the community on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. Christopher Chorley asked a question titled Duplicate Content Issues. Oh God, duplicate content. Anyway, he said, I have an e-commerce website and ran an audit in SEMrush, and it's come back with loads of duplicate content issues. What is the best way to fix this? No index those that have no traffic or ranking. Cheers.
Okay, so the first thing you need to do is don't always take tools at face value, right? So if it says, look, this is duplicate and this is duplicate, literally, you need to start checking. Tuck it into a spreadsheet and work your way through. Then identify what is duplicate and what they mean by duplicate. So it may not essentially be the content, but it could be something similar where you've actually literally, I don't know, you've got a tag that matches some category and the two titles that you set were exactly the same. So understand what is duplicate, what's not duplicate firstly. And that, don't just take it at blind face value. 9 times out of 10, once you've done that, you can actually see a pattern, and you may not, you may not have to actually, it may just be, for example, you've used tons of tags, whether it be in categories or products, or whether it be in your blog. So, sometimes it's a quick, easy fix. And yeah, I don't know, depending on what you're using, a lot of the time you can no index follow that particular page. If, for example, you're using WordPress, that's quite easy to do, depending on what CMS you're using. So firstly, I would just make sure that you understand when a tool is telling you is duplicate. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree on that too, Tim. I see that issue in SEMrush a lot, where people are going after just that one tool suggestion, and then they're looking at the page and it's like, okay, well, my canonicals are set properly. So yeah, the most accurate. One of the other tools I'm playing around with is called Sitebulb. So it's still, you're going back onto a tool itself, but trying to get multiple answers to your question is key. And as far as duplicate content, you also need to look at the product. When we're talking e-commerce here, are you selling the same widget that everybody else is, and can you actually create something that's uniformly different thing? So helping out maybe with additional video how-tos or additional pictures that could help with non-duplication, uniqueness.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Okay, we're on number nine out of 22. So I've got a bit to go through yet. Let's check this question from Jose for Ali Abbas. It's titled Domain Authority, DA, is decreased from 28 to 22. What is the reason behind the decrement in domain authority? See, Alan Blue Ice gave a very good answer on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group.
Yeah, Alan hit it on the nail. I think that all tools are basically give you a baseline of a domain authority, and Google's not going to give you the secret sauce of what that actual score is. Now there is ways to kind of look at, are you showing up for knowledge boxes, answer boxes in the actual search? Those are going to be indicators that you're actually right on the right track for that specific query. I wouldn't focus again back on a score. It's just like you're focusing back on, I ranked #1 for this keyword. But still kind of go back out and always do the best you can do for the quality of your content and your visitor experience, going back to domain authority. That's going to give you the actual best for your clients. But don't pay attention to the tools. I could be completely wrong. That's how I don't focus on domain authority.
Well, it's a meaningless number, isn't it? You can't cash it at the bank. All right, let's. I don't know if I should tweet that or not, but I'll do it anyway. And let's go to the next. Here's one from Toka. Janelle Leeds. Toka said, is the domain expire time important for SEO? My domain expires in 20 days. Should I renew right now for SEO?
Well, Alan asked a question which I think needs to be answered firstly. Is it your page or is it the actual domain itself? Well, if your domain is going to expire in 20 days, if you want to keep it, mate, I would renew it. And just a top tip there. You don't want to, yeah. Look, no, I don't believe that it's. I don't believe that it's going to have any SEO benefit whatsoever. However, I've got no evidence of this, but I would assume, based upon Google's rating guide, which has never been updated, or I think they have updated it once since it was originally leaked. But I'm going to take it at a slight guess and say, if your business is your money or your life scenario, then it may have some kind of thing. You know what I mean? If you are a financial analyst or a mortgage broker or something like that, where someone where the cost of doing business with you is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars or pounds, and your domain is going to expire in 20 days time, I'm going to say that there may, I don't know, but I'm just assuming that in the your money or your life instances, that it may have some kind of weight. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody will know. But I'm just going to say that if it's your money or your life situation, then I would think Google would probably, say something's a bit not quite right there, possibly.
I see we've been joined by Craig Campbell. Craig is an SEO trainer from the northern part of the UK, Glasgow.
Yes, sure am. How are you all?
Really well, thank you, mate.
Good man. Yeah, my opinion on this domain expiry thing, I've tried and tested that in the past, even with my own domain name, and let it go right up close to expiry. You know, people were saying, I've read in the past where people have said, you know, Google are not going to take your website as seriously if your domain's, you know, only got 30 days left or whatever, but I've certainly seen no direct impact, and I've tried and tested that as well. So I just thought I'd chip in with that for my first contribution. So yeah, that's my video on it.
Yeah, same here too, Craig.
And there's one other thing I'd like to add to that is, I mean, I've tested, like Craig was saying, but with a Money or Life page, I mean, think about the fact of if somebody was to expire, I mean, we've seen big companies actually expire their domains, and then somebody actually bought that domain, and now you're actually buying it back at a higher rate. The other thing is, if you lose your domain, sometimes you actually lose it for 90 days in circulation. So what I like to do is I'll set up a calendar invite, and it reminds me right before it goes back to expire, and I'll renew it for 3 years. And that way I don't have to worry about it, and then I'll set another reminder in my calendar 3 years out to basically make sure I actually renew it probably 3 months prior to its expiration.
Okay. All right. Let me tweet that. Here's one from Catherine Watia Ong. Catherine said, does anyone, oh, sorry, I didn't realize this. I have to talk to Dan. We don't really need these. She's just looking for a recommendation for a contractor. All right, Paddy Mantaloons on data points in Google Charts. The great answer from David Kuchar there. Anyway, Paddy said you'd think data points in Google Charts would be somehow accessible to search engines. Are they? Well, I can't see David. Looks like our scraper didn't get all of the comments, but I do remember reading David Kuchar's on the Facebook group. Damn it. Okay. Anyway, he did explain, and it's, if you'd like to read it yourself, you'll find it on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. All right, let's. Does anyone want to add anything to this? All right, let's move on to the next. This one again from Toka Janelides. Toka said that it's titled, can AdSense ad placement cause a rank decrease? Can it be a major reason for search traffic SEO rank decrease?
The way I would answer is it shouldn't, but it can. It shouldn't because AdSense publishers are meant to adhere to the Webmaster Guidelines and other related documents. So, if your ad placement falls afoul of Webmaster Guidelines and related guidelines, then you're automatically violating AdSense policies. So that's why I say it shouldn't be happening, but I think it can, because the enforcement and interpretation of the same rules seem to be slightly different between AdSense and web spam side of things. So what may be permissible according to AdSense may be problematic as far as the search quality side is concerned. So that's why I'm saying it can be an issue. And I think it becomes an issue when it's not just AdSense, but you have other things on the page which compounds the issue. I think that's where it becomes problematic, because AdSense becomes that additional factor in which, and when you look in totality, then yes, the web search quality side will have an issue, even though AdSense on its own, on that particular page, on particular placement, it's fine. But when you take other, let's say, plugins or some other third-party content, for example, and then above the fold, there isn't really much of the page's own content, then I think you'd be in trouble.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Taki. Okay, let's
just one
go
piece to
ahead.
add, Jim. You know, one of the things to also think about, I think Masataki hit on this, is really the user. I always go back to user experience, because there's actually, Google's talked about this, the experience often, where basically if there's not a lot of content, but you're running all these different ads and AdSense, is it confusing to the user when they're actually on that page? Is it beneficial to the user? A lot of times people just put their the ads on there so that they can make the money, but they're forgetting about the big picture of why the visitor's there. They're answering a question or coming from a search query. And so I would say, rank could be affected because your quality score is just not as high as others in that same space for that same query.
Okay. Ashok, I said I would relay your points for you. I'm so sorry. Ashok's been giving some brilliant commentary there in the chat. And I have to confess I forgot all about it. But from now on, I'll relay your comments. I do apologise. I hope your microphone gets better soon. I hope your cold gets better soon, I should say. All right, we're on number 15 on our run list now. It's from Giannis Hadj. How important is page speed to SEO? My vote's for very.
Yeah,
basically Google
very as well. I've been putting my, I've been working on a number of clients' WordPress sites recently to speed them up, and the initial feedback, shall we say, via Google Analytics is good. But I've been looking at sites that have been way down in the GT metrics speed speed rankings, because they have the Google page speed rankings and why slow as well, and that certainly the concentrating on the Google page speed numbers, letters in fact, because they do A to F, getting your client's website up into the A's does the trick. And as William has said in the group chat, speed is a big factor for mobile. Yes, indeed, as we all plummet towards mobile first for everything. Yes, that's a one hell of a reason for getting your speed fast. Okay, that's done your bit, yes. William. I'll pass it back to you.
Craig, did you have something to add there? You started to talk when David did.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I mean, for me, I think common sense would tell you that page speed will be some kind of ranking signal over a page that isn't. You know, I think faster loading websites certainly, you know, will benefit better in a lot of indirect ways as well, such as click-through rate and stuff like that. But yeah, so you've got to look at that. You know, we can't ever turn around and say that a slow loading website is going to rank well. We can't really go with that thought. So I'd have to say that page speed would always have to be at the top of anyone's suggestion. And, you know, indirectly, you know, technical SEO and all the kind of stuff that slows websites down all have to be looked at, and they're often left unnoticed by people. So, you know, I don't even think it's a question that should be asked. Does it, you know, the job is to make sure your website is as fast loading as it possibly can be. And if you're doing everything, auditing your website regularly, making sure that your images are compressed or any of the other stuff that's going to slow your website down, then, you know, it isn't really a question that should be asked. But I would always be, I genuinely, you know, I haven't sat and tested it trying to, you know, see how well a slow loading website can rank. But I would certainly say there's massive values indirectly by having a fast loading website.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think, you know,
go ahead.
I think going after something like images, you know, looking at like you know, web speed, they're looking at all sorts of different factors in there, and they're wanting to be able to figure out priority of everything. But what can I fix? And what I like to do is go down to the page level for a specific query. You know, what does that page look like that you're working with? Images especially, you can modify those images and shrink them down and optimize for load. A lot of people, when they're doing like a WordPress or any WYSIWYG type environment, they're dragging the image that they already have from their desktop, and it might not be optimized, and it might be 2 megs, and they're putting it into this little tiny box. And so what can you do by optimizing for that size of the image that really is going to be displaying on that page? You may not need the, you know, 1200 by whatever size image. It may just be a 400 by 400 image pixel wise. And so you can dramatically change the 2 meg file down to maybe 20, 30K. Therefore also optimizing at the same time for your mobile experience. So when people are actually pulling up their phones, you know, a lot of them actually have a data plan, and a lot of them are not unlimited data plans at the same time. So you're also implementing that, you know, I'm going to load a 2 meg file versus, you know, maybe a 30 or even a 60K file. So just figuring out really what you want to optimize for the page speed itself. Sometimes you can't change the JavaScripts that are on your page, where say GT metrics is basically giving you a hard time because it's giving you a C or a D, but then look at what those elements are in GT metrics that you can actually have physical control of.
Yeah. Look, I'd like to add to it. I mean, it's not just page speed is not just important for SEO. I think it should be pointed out that it's also important for conversions. I'll never forget a site where we threw a lot of resources into the SQL Server, and almost doubled the number of accesses of the shopping cart page. Because if you think about it, if you're on a website and it's responding quickly, it inspires confidence. You naturally trust the site. So yeah, page speed is really important. It's only going to get more serious as more and more users connect from a small form factor. All right, let's tweet this one because it's important. How important is page speed to SEO? Very. Carl Belsmeyer asks a question, it's titled Switching to HTTPS. Will I lose any rank I had in the HTTP URLs? He said, my site has a good SEO rank on HTTP URLs, and I have HTTPS SSL pretty much set up. But if I configure WordPress W3 total cache and my server to force SSL, will I lose any rank I had in the HTTP URLs? Would it be better to schedule something like this or just pull the trigger on it? I'm asking from an SEO standpoint, not a configuration standpoint. I'd prefer not to lose traffic during December due to a loss of SEO position triggered by the change. Basically, Max CDN has an SSL URL for me that will replace the existing HTTP based one. But just being extra careful, what would you recommend?
I done a blog post on this recently. I always had this, I was always scared to go to HTTPS in case it did have an impact on my rankings. So I left it until probably July or August this year, just in case I did have some kind of dip in rankings. But, you know, I didn't see any dip whatsoever. You know, obviously when you're using WordPress or whatever, there are plugins that kind of force your URLs over, like really simple SSL, which will put your URLs to the correct setting. And what you want to make sure is you do run a site audit like SEMrush or Deepcrawl or whatever, just to make sure that you've not got any mixed content or whatever on there. Just make sure it's all working perfectly fine. And, you know, personally, I never seen any dip. And any clients that I've done the migration for have also never seen any dip. So I can't say that I've ever seen a dip in there. And I was also fearful like yourself prior to doing that.
Absolutely. I would like to add, you know, I just got finished doing a migration. It's always scary. Of course, if you've got a lot of high converting, you definitely don't want to go through, especially during a holiday season. Right now, we actually did it prior to Black Friday, making sure that. I would probably say would be make sure you set up your Master Tools Search Console, make sure all that's ready. So have a plan as you're going through before you make that switch. Done that, but make sure that everything's in place. Going back to, there's a lot of articles on proper ways of switching. Actually put a huge on the Webmaster blog for this, protocols on what you need to look for. Think about is what your paid advertising. A lot of people forget with your paid advertising, it might not be a ranking signal. Sending traffic to HTTPS now. So you want to make sure all of your proper URLs are correct. Use like, you know, the Google AdWords editor makes it a little easier to go through and make sure all those links are up. And then also in your Google search analytics. So in Google Analytics, you want to make sure that you're setting up in your settings that piece for HTTPS. That way you're getting all that data right off the bat, and Google knows, hey, we did switch that. And then also same thing, their search engine, to make sure that they, you know, your Webmaster Tools and everything's properly set up with Bing. And Rush is another good little tool that allows you to see you report if you're sending from, you know, once you've switched to HTTPS, are you actually sending traffic to pages that are not?
Yep. Thank you, William. Okay, have we covered this one for Carl Belsmeyer? I think so. Okay, number 17 on your run list from Akash Jain on self-inserted ratings on a website. Akash said, hello, I have a question regarding self-inserted ratings on a website. One of the websites from our industry shows up with 5 stars in the Google search result with 5,249 votes. What they have done is just insert the following code into their website header. And he gives a code which can be read on Google+. It's probably on the technical one. But you'll find the actual link on dumbseoquestions.com for question 17 for this week, if you are looking for this, if you can't track it down any other way. Anyway, I'm just waiting for the code to scroll through to see if Akash had anything else to say. It's interesting if it actually does show up. He said, now this is crazy. They just made up a 4.9 rating with 5,249 votes on their own. And Google not only believes them, but also displays this information in the search results. So technically, I can insert the microdata showing a 5 rating with 100,000 votes, and Google will happily show this.
If your site has a fair little bit of authority behind it, Google will show it for a limited time. Essentially, you know, over the last month, well, in fact, over the last 4 or 5 months, Google's been slapping out penalties for structured data penalties. And the biggest one is for aggregated reviews. This, you know, don't do it. You know, it may sit on your site. It may be visible for a month or 2, but ultimately Google's going to slap it. Yeah. So if you're going to use aggregated ratings, make sure that it applies specifically to the page. It's not site-wise. It applies to the specific service or product that has the actual reviews on the page, and you can mark that up with your aggregated ratings. But when I say not site-wide, that basically means not on your contact page, not on your blog pages, not on your, you know, all the other incidental pages where the review actually, you know, is not related. So stick to your correct ones, and you know, Google will catch you ultimately in the end.
Cool. All right. Anybody else on this one? Okay, let's. Maybe we should make a note of, or find out from Akash. Did he give the URL of this site that's doing it? It might be an interesting exercise to see how long these circumstances last, Tim.
No, he took it all out. He didn't show it.
I might get in touch with Akash. All right. Or maybe Akash could get in touch with us. Anyway, Nishta Singh has a question on Google indexing. He wants to know if anyone can please help him. He said, I am working on 2 pages for Android development services. 1 page is for the UK and 1 page is for Australia. Both are from a different site. Now, before 4 months on the UK site's Android page, there was a canonical tag for Australia's Android page because the content is the same. And then I corrected the content for the UK and removed the canonical tag also. Now the question is that even though 4 months have passed, my UK page is still not indexing. It still shows the data of Australia's Android page. Can anyone please suggest to me why this is still happening? Why is my page still not indexing? Why does it still show the data for Australia's page on Google?
Oh yeah, this is the one I answered in the community. So I think because there are two versions, ENAUS and ENGB, he should institute hreflang so that the equivalence between the two regional versions are established. So I think the initial problem, inverted commas, I think was that he had canonicalized the UK page to the Australian page. So from what I read, I think that's what he did. So he had a UK page on the UK domain on which he put a canonical tag to the Australian page. So that's why Australian page was appearing in the UK results, because that's what he had told the search engine, saying, the true location for this content is the Australian page, even for UK visitors. So he removed that. And so now there are two pages, the UK page for UK visitors, Australian page for the Australian visitors. Now, what he hadn't done, I think, is to put the hreflang. If he were to do that, then at least that would make sure that equivalence between the Australian page and UK page for the respective countries would be established. And then I had also suggested that each page, so the Australian page and the UK page, should have a canonical tag to itself. So there should be a true location for the Australian page and then a true location for the UK page. And if we were to do that, at some point, I think that situation would be rectified.
Good one, Masataki. Excellent. All right, let me tweet that. Unless anybody else wants to add anything, we'll move on to the next. Okay, this one is for John Tully. It was on Google+. It said rankings can fluctuate after making manual changes to a web page. Do tell. John said, hi, I have a WordPress travel site and each location/product page randomly generates links with image, title and price to 3 related pages under the main content. Is this good for SEO? No. Or does it create problems that I'm not aware about? Yes. I ask this because I've noticed that rankings can fluctuate after making manual changes to a web page. Therefore, if the page appears to change every time Google spiders it, Google will constantly be trying to recalculate the ranking position, which may have a negative effect. Would it be better to manually choose 3 related pages and make them permanent, i.e. not randomly changing? Have we all decided that he's answered his own question?
Yeah, he's pretty much answered his own question here. I mean, you can't have websites that just randomly change your URLs. Google's never ever going to like that kind of setup, and it's just going to pass no. It just goes against what SEO is. Make sure that the URLs remain the same on any website that you work on. I mean, personally, I've never heard of a website that actually randomly just changes URLs every time Google crawls it. But, maybe I'm naive, but, I make sure that my permalink structure remains consistent. And obviously, if you take a page away, you would put a redirect on it and so on, just to make sure that Google can crawl an index and work through your website easily without finding 404 errors and everything else that would probably come as a result of this kind of setup. So absolutely, you've answered your own question, and there's not much you can really say other than that is horrendous SEO if that's the way that's working.
Yeah, I just to clarify, I don't think the actual URL of the page changes. What he's doing is putting 3 related products on every page, and having those 3 products randomly generated. So every time Google would search a page, it would have 3 links on it going to an internal product, which would be different every time Googlebot came by. But I don't think the actual, I don't think, well, it might have been my bad read, but I don't think he meant that the actual URL of the page changed, just the 3 products on the page.
Yeah, even the variations, if I've obviously misinterpreted what that, what the chap was saying, but the obviously that's going to create duplicate content issues and stuff like that. People have every e-commerce website has issues. If you've got a product and say it's a black leather shoe, for example, and you've got it in 5 different sizes. If you're creating 5 different URLs, you only need one of those to be crawled and indexed by Google and ranking well. You don't need all the variations. So, yeah, you want to make sure that you eliminate that from your website, by no following certain things or however your website is set up. Make sure that Google only crawl and index the pages that are actually designed to rank well, rather than sort of variations and which is going to then bring on duplicate content issues and whatnot.
Thank you, Craig. I see David Rozam said pink fluffy shoes in the panel comments there. I think Tim Capper has that trademarked, mate.
Yeah, don't take the piss. That's fine.
I thought we as a group had it part of the rules now that everything has to be pink and fluffy.
Well, Tim's wearing a pair as we speak, I think.
Yes. We have so much fun. All right, let me tweet that. And this one's number 20 on our run list, guys, from JL Faverio. Where to share new blog posts? He said, I'm pretty sure this was asked here a few months back. Feel free to link me. Otherwise, looking for ideas on where to share new blog posts other than social media profiles. Thank you.
You can think creatively, and obviously social media is for sharing blog posts and whatnot. There's not any special thing out there other than forums or the usual other channels where you can post a link to drive traffic to your website. So I'm not sure what the poster is asking for. As if there's something special out there that we know about that they maybe doesn't know about. But yeah, anywhere that you can post your link that's going to drive traffic, that's going to be relevant to anyone reading it, then post it there. You can use certain forums and stuff like that to share your blog post if you've got something that's relevant and interesting based on a subject that people are talking about. But yeah, there's not a huge amount of other places without becoming pretty spammy. But anywhere that gets decent traffic is always good.
Yep. Anybody else? All right, let's tweet that and we'll move on to the next. Kamlesh Drolia wants a plugin to create content, or is talking about a plugin. He says, I use a plugin to create content for my page for a selected category and then internal linking to that page using keywords. Is this a good practice? No. See example page in the comments.
I mean, to answer that, using a plugin to create content's never a good idea from the outset. Most people tell you your content has to be unique, relevant, selling the product or the service to the best of your ability. And I don't think there's a plugin out there that's going to generate any good kind of quality content. And adding internal links to that content on your website isn't going to make a blind bit of difference. Internal linking to a page is good practice to show Google this page is important or whatever. But internal linking to a page that has content that's been created from a plugin isn't really going to be good practice, in my opinion, unless that plugin is, of course, writing good content, which I highly doubt. I think manual content writing is the only real way that you can do that just now, unless someone wants to highlight that there's some amazing plugin that I've been missing out on for a while, because I'd love to use it myself if there is such a thing.
Yeah, exactly. All right. That one is tweeted. We're on to the next. Stephen Ward asks the question that my domain doesn't appear at all on archive.org. Stephen said, "Hi, everyone. I just bought a domain name in the SEO niche. It has SEO in the title. And it is so good that I can't believe it. I can't believe it hasn't already been used and abused. Yet it doesn't appear at all on archive.org. I use SERPstat to check the backlinks and it doesn't come up there either. Is there anywhere else I should check before I start moving my digital marketing website to it?" He also, later in the comments, he checked on whois.domaintools.com and he actually found that it had been used before. But I thought this question would be useful to talk about the subject of toxic domains and the importance of checking any new domain for its past history. Anybody?
I'm more than happy to dive in again. I was going to give someone else a chance, but yeah, obviously, anyone who knows me will know that I participate in building PBNs and things like that. And a big part of my job is checking out domain names and try to utilize their previous history and backlink profiles to power up websites. So I think it really is important that you do check whether a domain name has been used and abused, because certainly in the SEO niche, most SEOs will use and abuse and spam the life out of domain names using GSA and various other tools. And obviously you don't want to inherit a domain name that has got some kind of black marker over it with Google. So it is important that you use the Wayback Machine and some other tools to check out the backlink profiles. It's a must, and people are using websites willy-nilly out there. So yeah, you do want to check these out using a bunch of tools. I'm seeing someone here checking out pink fluffy elephants. So I'll get that in so I can join the club here. And yeah, so pink fluffy elephants probably been used and abused by one of you guys, just for humour purposes. But yeah, you've always got to do checks on there, because I'm pretty sure that most domain names out there, if they do become free and they've got some form of history, will have been used and abused to some degree. Unless, for me, I would always actively look for people who've maybe went out of business or whatever, and try and take advantage of their SEO efforts over the past 5 or 10 years. But great domain names expiring are not always that easy to find. So there you go.
Yep. All right. Let's tweet that. Oh, it's that time again. For yet another week, we've covered all of the questions asked on the technical SEO community on Google+, on the SEO Questions community on Google+, and the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. Okay, we'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again. I just wanted to do one thing. I got a hamper from SEMrush, and I'm really glad about it. But the main thing I'm glad about is that I got it before Tim Capper. Anyway, thank you, SEMrush. You can. Well, bad cough there, Tim. Anyway, SEMrush should know that my love is for sale. Thank you. Okay. Anyway, we'll be back at the same time next week. Thank you. I see we still have people watching us, and we thank you for that. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile, and for that we're truly grateful.